Hello, my Chunsters. My name is the Chun, and it's time to have some fun with Host Pro 2.0, episode 12. And I've got not necessarily a packed show, but I've got a show for you, and I've got it together. At the moment, Marcus isn't here. I don't know if he will be later on. I have sent him an invite, but I don't know if he's gonna join. I sent him all the information about the topics and whatever, and when I'm going live. Didn't get a reply to that, so I don't know if Marcus is going to be. Oh, hello! Just as I say that, his name pops up. So there we go. Marcus is going to be here. Apparently, okay. I had my doubts about that was going to happen, but in case you don't know, I'm already live. I wasn't sure.
I gathered that.
I was about to run down the topics. So topics. We've got the Monday Night Raw visit to discuss, and I haven't got my headphones on, but it's okay because I haven't got any sounds. Wait, no, I have. I've got sounds coming out of my speakers, haven't I? Yeah, of course I do. Silly doofus. I should probably put these on. Yeah, we've got Monday Night Raw. The visit to Monday Night Raw, how that went. Things that are better or worse than last year, what have you. All good stuff. All right, it's my... No, my headphones aren't actually working. Brilliant. Hang on. I'll get those working. Right, yes. Yes, that's better. Good, got those working. I also have French nuclear power to discuss with you because the French have got a nuclear power station which they are having issues with, troubles. They haven't quite disclosed the nature of these issues. But the reason why it's irrelevant, particularly to people in the UK, is because the government has given the go-ahead for a nuclear power station of identical design to be built here in this country. So that can be interesting. I don't actually know the nature of the issues, but we'll get into that later on. We also have major pay problems in TNA. Basically, the company is in a lot of trouble, and the talent aren't getting paid what they're promised. I've also got some Formula One news and a Would You Rather, which is going to be an interesting question. It's a difficult one to answer. It's not explicit or anything like that. It's just
strange.
Not even that. It's just difficult. It's a difficult choice. So I'm thinking go from the top.
Whatever's easiest, because is that the order you've got them set out in?
Yeah, that's the order I got them set out in. That's the way I wrote them down.
May as well go through them as they're written down.
Yeah, let's do that. So Monday Night Raw. For those of you who do not know, myself and Marcus went to WWE Monday Night Raw last Monday, I should say, on the 13th of April. It was good in some ways and not so great in others. I think is the best way to put it. Some things were a bit better. I think there are a lot more people on the show. And a couple of things I liked, like we got to see Adrian Neville, we got to see Daniel Bryan, dark match, but we still got to see him wrestle. But I think it's fair to say that neither myself nor you actually enjoyed the show as much. Or enjoyed the trip, I should say.
Not as much as last year. The trip itself was fine because we decided to go the clever route as opposed to last year when we got stuck in London. So getting there was fine. Got access to the VIP lounge where they charge £5 a drink, even though I swear the lady said it was a free bar, but whatever.
I swear to that too.
Yeah. And then the actual show was... they packed quite a lot of matches into the show. So you did get to see a lot of people. To me, though, it wasn't the same atmosphere as last year. And given the fact there seemed to be quite a lot of technical faults in this one as opposed to last year's one, that for me didn't really it just like it took too long to set up in between things, and I kept having to replay adverts over and over again. It seemed a bit chucked together at the last minute in terms of technical, sort of from the technical front. But the actual quality of the wrestling was very good. Crowd was a bit different to what we had last year as well. That didn't help, I don't think.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think on the technical side of things, it was a weird one because they had what's her name? Eden? Is it Eden? Yeah, I think that's her name. She announced that we'd be going live in 30 seconds, but we're not. We're going to record another Superstars match first. It's like, yeah, it's technically jarring. And like you said, it took, whereas last year, it'd be literally a case of 30 seconds or so between one match ending, wrestlers leaving, and then the next wrestlers coming out for the next segment of the show. It seemed to be like up to a minute and a half to 2 minutes this time. I think that jarred a bit. It's jarring, and it just interrupted the atmosphere, I think.
Yeah, and the crowd were pretty different from the crowd we had last time. Last time it felt like a more unique crowd, whereas this time it was kind of quite generic, really.
Yeah, that's how I felt definitely before the show, when everybody's filtering in, because it's just the same chants over and over and over again. It was just, although the new edition, technically because it wasn't there last year, was New Day Sucks, that chant was going on before the show quite a bit. But mostly it was just woos and Let's Go Cena Sucks chants, which was exactly the same as it was last year before the show.
Well, people might look at it and say, oh, why are you annoyed with that? It's like, yeah, but when you're hearing it every sort of 30 seconds, it's like it would die off and then it'd start again, then it would die off and then start again. The occasional woo, and then it would start up with that again. Gets a little bit boring.
Yeah, it's more like, it's all like, oh, come on, guys, let's try something new here. It was, I think it's because last year as well, it was exactly the same chance. Last year we joined in a bit before the show. I know we both did, but there's also a couple of yes chants going on outside the arena, which I think because we're in the VIP lounge, we didn't get to experience being involved in the atmosphere from the word go. I don't think that helped so much. And then there was one unique chant. There was only one unique chant before the show started, and that was a Super Dragon chant. But then again, it was very minor. It was just literally a couple of guys by the entrance ramp chanted Super Dragon. I just happened to catch it and like pile on a little bit at the end. But that was the only unique thing I heard all pre-show.
Yeah, the chants were all very samey, and but the actual, I suppose the matches in a way, most of the matches were very good. Some of them were over very quickly. It seemed like they tried to pack as much as they could into a short segment, and they detracted a bit from the main event as well, because the main event should always be on TV, but this time it was a dark main event, which is a bit strange as to why they decided to do that, especially when you have Daniel Bryan, Dolph Ziggler, Big Show, Harper, Sheamus, and Ambrose as well. That's a pretty big main event, and it was a dark match, so that took away from it a little bit. But the actual match itself, the dark match, was very good.
Yeah, it was. I was expecting, because it's post-show dark match, that they would maybe take it easy, but they didn't. And the interesting thing about, the only thing that would sort of separates it from a match that happens on TV is Big Show actually bantering with the crowd a bit. That's the only thing that sort of distinguished it in my mind. But yeah, I think you're right. I think the matches that there were good. But like you're right though, they did try to cram a bit too much into it, I think. I must admit, I was fine once the show started. I think once the show started, people started to chant new things, like a couple of NXT chants was showing NXT's gaining ground, I think.
Yeah, no, how are you doing? Soft. There were a few new ones.
Yeah, those guys are over, even though they're not even on the main roster. Lucha Dragons had a hell of a pop, I'll admit. It wasn't completely samey, but it is there wasn't that much unique going on in the audience this time, apart from the chance, obviously, for Barrett, which you probably wouldn't get anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, I don't know. Just the show, I think it's because the second show we've been to as well, it's not going to be quite the same as the first one that we went to see. I think the highlight of the trip as well was I got 12 Krispy Kreme donuts on the way back, which was nice.
That's the highlight of the trip. I must admit, though, I found the for me, the segment which sticks out most in my mind, and there's two of them, were the Neville versus Ziggler match, because my God, that was amazing. The moves that Neville can do, seeing them live as well, is just it's just incredible. That bloke, it really is incredible. And the other segment which stuck out for me was the very first one, Bad News Barrett versus Cena, because that was the match I think that they gave the most time to, and I think they actually worked a very good match, those two guys. I think as well, after that segment, the fans' energy just sort of dwindled a bit. It was like there were a couple of hot moments, but after that first segment, I think the crowd got burnt out on the first segment because it was Bad News Barrett and everybody just went crazy for him. And after that, it's like not a huge amount left to go crazy for, or not as crazy, I should say.
Yeah, that was the energy did lack a little bit after the first match, but in general, no, I thought the show itself was very good. Just a few little dwindling factors that we picked up on that weren't quite the same as last year, which is unfortunate, but it was still it was well worth the trip up and the trip back.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely intending to try and go again next year, because I think next year as well will be different as well, because I think by next year we'll have some more guys that we kind of enjoy watching will be on the main roster. I think by that point Kevin Owens will probably be there, assuming he's not injured. I reckon Sami Zayn will probably be up there as well, and probably Finn Balor. I reckon those three guys I would very much want to watch wrestle.
Yeah.
In particular, I think as well, it's you're right. It's a second show for me as well. Personally, this is more a personal thing. I don't think it counts to you so much, but I was a little bit disappointed that I didn't see Bray Wyatt wrestle, because he is pretty much my favorite guy from the modern era at the moment. But he wasn't on the show, and he was limited to just a promo, which I was like, I want to see Bray Wyatt, and we didn't get that entrance as well, because that entrance is atmosphere. And Bray Wyatt as well last year set the tone so quite high with his promo, and I think, but he didn't get the crowd so amped up that it was completely. It drifted a bit as well. It's just a couple of things. I think the thing that detracted from it the most was just their technical issues. Having to wait like 3 minutes in between matches is a bit. Come on, let's have it now. I noticed when I was like editing the vlog, as it shows in the vlog editing, because I pressed record on my phone to try and record the very beginning of the entrances, which means I was recording before the actual entrance had happened, and a lot of the times I was recording for 5 minutes at a time before even an advert was playing, and I think that hurt a bit. But yeah. Overall it's good fun. I still lost my voice, so I guess that's a good sign.
Yeah, you suffered with a few days, didn't you?
Yeah, still not completely back to normal yet, but I'm actually able to talk and sing badly at least. Yeah, overall, I'd still recommend everybody go and watch it live, because it is still brilliant live.
Yeah, very different atmosphere live as well. It's well worth going if you can get a ticket to it.
Yeah, I'd say I'm still glad we went to see it live rather than just watch it on TV, because I can guarantee just watching on TV, I wouldn't have enjoyed that show so much.
Hmm.
And plus, have you watched Superstars yet? There's during Heath Slater's entrance, there's a camera shot of us two front and center because we're like literally the only two people standing up for Heath Slater's entrance.
No, I haven't watched Superstars yet. I haven't really watched the full Raw back yet, to be honest.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Superstars is quite a good one actually because, like I say, there's particularly during Slater's entrance, there's a really, really, really clear shot of us two, front and center. It's quite good. I was just like, hey, good shot.
I haven't checked that out yet. I think I'll have to check that out a little bit later on.
Yeah, I would. It's the best shot they've got. They got of us the whole show. So I was quite pleased with that one. Other than that, I don't really have a huge amount to say about the thing. I think our trip actually went better than last year as well. It went more. The journey up went more like clockwork than before, but coming back was a pain. It's like just because we got directed through London again, which last year wasn't a problem. It was dead quiet last year going through London, but this year, not so much because of I think roadworks. Every single diversions all over London basically just concentrated the traffic all on a couple of roads, and it was just a freaking nightmare. Lights were going green and the people were just sitting there. As you remember, that drove me completely insane. I was just sitting there like, the light's gone fucking green, go. It's like and then there's only 2 cars to get out before the lights have gone red. It's like, why didn't you go? It's like. And then, of course, I think we were stuck in London for an hour and a half before we could actually get out of London because we left the O2 at 11 o'clock, I'm sure. And then
wasn't it a bit later than that?
Couldn't be much later.
No, I think it was a bit later than that because we got out of the O2 at about 20 to 11, I think. And then by the time we walked through to the car park and everything, I think it was about nearly 11:30 by the time we left. But we didn't realise there'd be quite so many diversions going through Hammersmith.
Yeah, that was. That was it. I think you're right. Yeah, it must have been about an hour. We got delayed in there, but I know it was gone. It was gone midnight by the time we actually got onto the M4 and got going anywhere. Yeah, that was an experience.
Yeah, driving in London is not much fun.
Oh, it wouldn't be bad. It wouldn't be so bad if there just weren't idiots on the road like that stupid son of a bitch Peugeot changing direction at the last second, and then I'm just like swerve to avoid it. And because it's London, there's like no space to swerve, so I basically swerved into the wrong lane, and I went down the wrong road to avoid crashing into a Peugeot, and we had to get redirected again. It's like, yeah, there was a whole lot of that going on, and
yeah, it was a bit traumatic getting out, but we got there in the end, luckily.
Yeah, like your Vine. It's like we were wondering, what's the quick way out of London? There is no fucking quick way.
There really isn't. There is no quick way. It was quite quick going in, actually. Yeah. We managed to stick to the M roads, but yeah, getting out this year was a bit of a nightmare. It was a bit of a reverse situation from last year because last year we got out basically no problem at all. It was clear all the way back to the road to take us back.
Yeah, that's a weird one. That. But the other thing that stuck out for me on the journey front of things was like the fog. God, the fog. I wasn't exactly tired, but I wasn't 100% aware. I wasn't at peak awareness, ready to stop. My reactions, I just was slightly drowsy at the very worst. But with that fog, it's like you could barely see like 10 cat's eyes in front of you. And that would go on for like hours. It was stupid, really.
Yeah, weird little pockets of fog here and there. But luckily, when we got back down towards Cornwall, it all cleared up.
Yeah, and once we're back down here, is cleared up, thankfully. But yeah, I think that about sums up everything from Raw.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see what next year will bring.
Yeah, I think I think what else sort of, and I saw actually Michael Hayes has been blasted by fans on Twitter for this. Like Michael Hayes tweeted out like, "Oh, we've got lots of surprises lined up for you," and then it's like the show happens and it's basically vanilla. It's like just cut and paste of just like a load of generic spots and nothing all that interesting really. Nothing surprising. The only surprise I'd say there was would be that Fandango turned face. Other than that, what happened on that show that was surprising? Nothing really.
Well, besides Barrett coming out for the Open Challenge.
Well, yeah, but then again, that's just. I
thought he would have been in a more sort of. I don't know. It's just these stupid US Open tournaments, though. It's just stupid because nobody's going to beat him until it gets to Extreme Rules.
At the very earliest, yeah.
It's pointless anybody coming out for those Open Challenges, but I was expecting somebody else and not Bad News Barrett. I thought Barrett would have been, like an entrant. He would have come out to the ring first, and then they would have announced somebody else to come out and face him. But that, to me, Bad News Barrett and Fandango, that was about it, really.
I mean, there were a lot of rumors going around before the show that Finn Balor would be debuting, since he is photographed on the set. But and then people are saying, "Oh, we got loads of surprises." I think you and me both were a bit like, any moment now we could hear, and I think we would have come unglued for that, but. It almost detracted from the show that it didn't happen because they basically teased that it probably would happen, and then it didn't, and we're just like, At least I was.
Yeah.
And then I got pissed off watching SmackDown because what happened? Dad, ding, ding, ding. I was like, you bastards! That's the guy I really wanted to see. He's on SmackDown. Lovely. So he was physically able to wrestle, but wasn't on the show.
Just same as we didn't see Kane last year, but we saw him this year.
True, but then again, I think that Kane is at the moment. It's a separate point, not even related to Raw. Really, Kane isn't the Kane that I like at the moment. He's not really Kane at this point in time. It's like I'd rather see Bray Wyatt than that incarnation of Kane. Like last year, if Kane had come out, he would have been full-on demon, ring pyro, spectacle. But this year, he's just a corporate puppet Kane. And it's not really Kane, is it?
True. But at least he was there, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess. At least we got to see his Titantron. But yeah, I think WWE's like in a bit of a lull period at the moment. I think they're trying to I think they're in a period where they seem to be trying to find something that works, but they haven't found it yet to go forward with. I think they were hoping Roman Reigns would work, but that didn't work because the fans basically just rejected it wholeheartedly. And I know a lot of wrestlers and people say that the fans should just shut up and accept what you get. But I mean, the thing is, you can't really do that as a fan. If you find a wrestler boring, you can't just shut up and accept that. It's like, I don't really want to be forced to watch boring television because the wrestling industry says we should, because we're just fans and we should shut our mouths. It's not just the WWE that says that. It's RVD, and it's like RVD and people like that are also saying it's annoying that the fans think they can dictate the show. It's like, well, wait a minute. We are the people that you're supposed to be entertaining here. I mean, we know wrestling isn't a full-on competitive sport. We know the results are predetermined. It's like, if we're not being entertained by a certain guy, why should we shut up and just not voice that we don't want to see this guy? It's weird.
Well, yeah. Essentially, you should do, at least some of the time, something to make the fans happy. That's the way I look at it. At least that way you keep people interested in your product.
Yeah, it's I find it a very odd world at the moment where the wrestling industry seems to be just doing what it wants, and it's like, well, the fans should just learn to live and accept it because they're the fans and they shouldn't be thinking. They're all sort of saying stuff like, "Oh, the fans all want to be experts," and it's not that we think we're experts in particular. It's just we want to feel like we somewhat matter, I think. Like if we like a guy, that guy will become successful and we'll see more of him. But it doesn't seem to be the way at the moment. I think the WWE is just like wrestling in. I don't think it's true of all wrestling promotions. I think at the moment it's mostly independent leagues that are catering to fans, but it feels like with WWE at the moment, they're just trying to do things against what the fans want to see if the fans will just accept it and then they can do what they want all the time. That's what it kind of feels like at the moment.
Needs to be a bit of a boom in the near future.
Because I think we mentioned it at the time as well. Like you said it before the show even started. It's like with the recent lackluster pay-per-views, just the general atmosphere is on a low going in because we're just like, we'd come off WrestleMania 31, which wasn't as good as we really thought it was going to be. We came off Fastlane, which wasn't as good as we thought it would be. The Royal Rumble, we all know what happened at the Royal Rumble. That was just bloody awful, that pay-per-view. And then it's like trying to be amped up for the show after so many bad pay-per-views. It wasn't the same. I mean, last year it was a bit different, I think, just because there have been more good shows leading up to it.
Yeah, general quality of wrestling in 2015 hasn't been fantastic, pay-per-view wise, anyways.
Yeah. At the moment, I think at this state in time, what the fuck am I saying? State in time? Point of time. That's what I mean. Point in time. I would probably be more amped up to go and watch a Ring of Honor show than a WWE show. But that's just me.
You've got a good point. You've got some good wrestlers.
Yeah, very good. And you probably know you're going to see a good show if you go to Ring of Honor because they just always seem to pull something out the bag. Anyway, let's move on. I think we've got another wrestling topic coming up, which is an interesting one, I think. But next up, I wanted to talk about French nuclear power because they have a lot of issues with the nuclear reactor, and I'm going to actually bring up the news story, so hopefully we can both take a look at it. I want to know what their exact issue is. I don't think they're actually leaking radiation.
I think it's to do with something to do with the metal around the sealant of like containers and stuff inside the actual compound. The metal that's supposed to securely sustain nuclear material isn't as secure as they thought, and is actually susceptible to nuclear radiation, which and therefore could cause leaks.
Yeah.
That's what I gathered anyway from the news story.
Yeah, weaknesses in the steel. And the thing is, you would have thought at this point, right, you got nuclear power. It's quite devastating when it goes wrong, as the world has found out on previous occasions. So it just seems like building a nuclear reactor with metals which may or may not be up to the job. It's just a bit reckless, really, don't you think?
Well, considering the fact that it's worth, I think it's 27 billion or something like that, the plant's worth, you figure the amount of money they put into research into it, they'd actually be able to find a metal or craft some kind of, a hybrid metal or, whatever they need to do to safely contain the contents that are inside. You would figure that research has come that far, and with enough funding, they should be able to get it at least securely contained, even if the compound wasn't ready or whatever. The first thing you should do is obviously ensure the safety and security of the materials that you're transporting and going to be working on, the scientists that are there, the research team, and obviously the general public. Because, you have to work out the fallout area. If something goes wrong, then that could be disastrous.
Yeah, it just seems like they built the research plan and didn't really think about it a whole lot for that kind of thing to be an issue. And it's like, what else didn't they consider when they built that? What's worrying is, what I would say is quite worrying, is the fact that they're planning to build something incredibly similar with basically exactly the same materials in England as well. It's like, it makes me wonder: is it even ready to be built in the UK? If you have problems with your materials, that should be pretty fundamental in my mind. But if you've got problems like that, surely you shouldn't be building another nuclear power plant somewhere else, even if you don't actually understand the first one that you built.
Well, I think the thing is, I don't want to blow our own horns, but I would imagine that the UK scientists are probably slightly more clued up, if that's the term to use, or slightly more, maybe not enthusiastic, but they seem, considering with the amount of health and safety checks we have in England as it is, they seem like they wouldn't go ahead with it unless it was 100% safe, which is why now having the issues with the French one is now going to delay obviously the building, because they can't go ahead and start building if they know that the materials the French are using aren't safe, because essentially it's going to be a carbon copy of the plant that the French are building.
Yeah, it's an interesting one to keep an eye on, and that's just like another topic on the ongoing science element of the show that we had going on for a while. It's a worry, I think. I'm slightly concerned that the French should even think about that. I mean, it's in Normandy, which means there is a very high chance that England could be affected if that thing goes wrong as well.
Well, yeah, there's that. That's why I think I don't know how much money or research the French government put into the building of it, but you would figure that they would have hired scientists that would instantly think, okay, uranium, let's say, is highly contained by, I don't know, let's say cadmium metal. So they would think, okay, well, shitloads of cadmium to put over it, it will counteract the nuclear reactions going on inside the material, so it should be safe to sustain it, unless they've literally just been told, okay, here's some money, build us a plan. And they've gone, okay, we'll just build you a plan without fully researching it. I don't know what the full details are on that.
No, not why. It's an odd one, I think. But it does raise some very serious questions. It's like it raises the question: are governments going into building nuclear power plants with a very blasé, almost what's the word I'm thinking of? Oh bloody hell! It's a complacent attitude. That's the word I'm looking for. It's like yeah, let's just build a plan. It'll be fine. No, you're talking about nuclear power here, you idiots. This can be weaponized, and it's like, yeah, just build the thing. It'll be fine.
Yeah, go back to the early 40s and start researching nuclear arms and power. That should be scary enough to make you think, at least if we're going to build this, we should build it securely.
Yeah, let's just take a look at there's a very interesting year I think they should review as a case study. 1945 should be a pretty good one to start with. Then you might also want to think about researching a place called, what is it called?
Somewhere in Russia, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's Chernobyl rings a bell. Maybe you should try reading that about what happened there.
I mean, that was only a minor disaster, wasn't it? As seen as how the ground is now uninhabitable until the year, I think it's going to be 4050. They said that it's going to be safe for humans to walk in full radiation gear on the ground. And people that visit Chernobyl have to have every single square cubic millimeter of their body scrubbed. And we're including like inside the eyeballs, inside the ear canals, up your pee tube, everywhere.
Yeah, it's no biggie, nothing massive. But I mean, I think Chernobyl, I think the actual fallout from it is now that You can walk on foot there. You can actually do it, and you can do it and be safe. However, there are lots and lots and lots of precautions you must take. You don't actually necessarily need a radiation suit, unless if you're in like the hot pockets of it, because the things that you need are a Geiger counter, and if that thing spikes, you have to back away quickly because it means you're getting dangerous. And yeah, you're not allowed to be there for more than 2 hours a day. 3 days is your limit, and that's it. That's the severity of it at the moment. Although I do know about people that do tours into Chernobyl rarely. So I saw a YouTube video of like a tour of it, and I'm not talking about the movie.
No. They do tours of like inside the factory and basically everywhere that's classed as a safe zone, basically. But the ground itself there won't be habitable by any kind of wildlife for at least another. I think they said it's the year 4050 is when you could start to see signs of like grass starting to regrow and stuff, because essentially the radiation can take millennia to fully disperse before it's safe, and even then there could still be pockets remaining. So
yeah, I think
they should have looked at that before starting to jump into building something that they're not adequately equipped to build.
Yeah, it's just looking at the fallout of Chernobyl should really warn you about being complacent with nuclear power. It's not a laughing matter. But I also understand, though, that nuclear power has its place on our sort of energy grid, because it can provide a shitload of power by itself. Almost, I think they said this one plant could provide 50% of the nation's power requirements by itself. And that's also a pretty scary statistic.
Well, I've seen studies where they've put like a uranium rod into like a generator or something, and basically one small rod, probably about that big and maybe twice as thick, could basically power an entire street for as long as the uranium lasts. So it could be 10 years, it could be 5,000 years.
It is very, very, very efficient if you can get it working, but that's the thing. If is a very good word to be using. With a lot of things, if is a very, very useful safeguard word that you want to be considering. It doesn't seem.
Well, I mean, the whole reason for building the plant is obviously to investigate and find out whether it can be refined and used safely. But if you're not going to contain, transport, and handle the materials in an environment where it's going to be safe and contained and not have any risk of exploding or combusting or interacting with any other kind of nuclear materials, and ends up having a massive explosion and England becomes a bomb site for the next 5,000 years, then, well, there you go.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me. It brings me back to what we were saying about Nanskuk and how sort of blasé they were about that place, even though it's quite obviously a dangerous place to be working. Just like leaks, like gas leaks on a daily basis. It's like you can't do that with nuclear power. The results are just going to be absolutely devastating. And just makes me think echoes on Nanskuk. That's a British way of doing things, is how Nanskuk was. It's like, what's the British way of doing nuclear power? I'm not entirely sure I want to find out, if I'm honest.
Although I would like to think, well, fingers crossed, that they would have actually thought about this and thought, okay, this is something that we can't fuck around with. So that's my hope, anyways.
Yeah, I would hope that you're correct on that. Should we do a second wrestling topic?
Yeah, you can move into that one.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be as long as the first one. It's TNA. A lot of people, I think, we know about TNA. We know about its struggles. We know that TNA wants to be as big as the WWE is, and bigger. And we also know that's never going to happen. But their desire, their intent to be bigger than the WWE has led them down a very bad path. They tried to go head-to-head with Monday Night Raw on Mondays. That went really badly for them. Just completely saw the ratings evaporate because nobody's watching TNA when Raw's on. And ever since that point, they've just seemed to be spiraling out of control, losing their viewership. They've now had to move to a smaller network, so they've got even less exposure. And now we've got TNA is hemorrhaging money in a bad, bad way. And now we've got situations where talent aren't getting paid, so the wrestlers aren't getting paid, referees aren't getting paid, even production crew are behind on pay. So much so that in an attempt to counter these negative rumors about the company's financial difficulties, Matt Hardy, right, he got 5 of his paychecks and tweeted them and said, look, I'm getting paid. Only the problem was people looked at that and thought, hang on a minute, why is he taking a photo of 5 paychecks? Is this basically 4 paychecks that they didn't pay him until now?
Or are they checks that he didn't issue, that he hasn't got cashed yet?
Could be. As far as I know, the contract payments as opposed to royalty checks. So I think they're just literally checks that TNA sent him, and then he's got to sort of, put them on. But it's just like, look, here are the checks from the employer. They are coming. But everybody's like, why have you photographed 5 of them at once? Have they basically not paid you for the last 4 months? And that kind of whole publicity thing backfired badly.
Well, it's a shame because him himself and Kurt Angle and a few of the guys that work there have said that in terms of health, and taking time off and whatever and being paid while you're sick, apparently they're the best company in the world to do that. Like, they will happily grant you time off if you're injured. If you've got a sprained ankle, they'll say, okay, come back to us when you're ready to go, and they would pay you. But the thing is, I just don't think they're making enough money to be able to actually afford to pay talent. And if that starts happening, there's only a few guys that are going to stand around and put up with it.
See, the thing is, as well, Havoc, the Knockout, went on record and said there are problems with pay. And I think this is one of the reasons why AJ Styles left in 2013. Apparently, the company was already in trouble. I think they'd already moved to the smaller soundstage at Universal Studios at the time. And they were paying a lot of money to guys like Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff at the time. And when it came to renew AJ's contract, they tried to offer him a lower amount than he was sort of expecting, let's just say, because it's a guy like AJ Styles. He looked at it as like, well, I'm worth a hell of a lot more than that. And he tried to negotiate, but the simple fact was TNA was not in a financial position to pay AJ what AJ is worth. And he quite quickly did the maths and realized he could make a lot more money wrestling more regularly on the independent scene. And that's what he did. He just went to the independents and started working New Japan and Ring of Honor and all other independents around the world, and is actually making more money than apparently it's not fully disclosed, obviously, but apparently it's rumored that he's making about twice the money on the independent scene than he would have been earning if he'd re-signed with TNA. And that's how bad their financial problems are, basically.
And the trouble they've always had is, I said it to you ages ago, it's not so much nowadays because obviously they can't afford it. Well, there's been a couple, but generally when anybody leaves the WWE, the first place they go, TNA get in contact with them and say, oh, you can have a job here, you can have a job here. And they started signing so many people. You can't have that many wrestlers on a show because you won't be able to afford to pay all of them. Or you'll be able to pay some of them what they might be worth and all of them not what they're worth. Or, you might be able to pay a few of them a little bit and some of them not at all, which isn't fair to the talent, to be fair.
I think TNA as well, they got ahead of themselves, really. And you can see as well, they are still basically just employing any ex-WWE guy that is willing to listen to them. Like Tyrus went there. Obviously, Drew Galloway is a recent one who went there. And the problem with these ex-WWE guys is whilst they may have name value because they are ex-WWE, it's like, well, if you got employed by the WWE, then you are you have a name value to a degree just by being associated with that company. But that also means they command more money, and you'll probably have to pay them more money than you'd have to pay, say, Yuha Nation if you signed him. But TNA, they keep signing ex-WWE guys when what they really should be doing is probably looking at, say, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, Lucha Underground, and places like that, and thinking, well, we should sign a couple of these guys because they'll be cheaper, and we can build them up and make them our own stars. I mean, if you think about it, the most successful people in TNA are people who they bought on the cheap before they got that famous. Guys like Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, Kazarian Daniels, a bad influence, Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley, Loki. There are more, and I mean, there are a lot of guys. Pardon?
Austin Aries, James Storm.
Yeah, Bobby Roode, that's another one.
Bobby
Eric
Roode.
Young.
Yeah, all these guys from smaller indies that came up. So you have to pay them. You'd have to pay them a bit more than what they were earning, but as long as they're earning more money than what they did where they were before, they're going to be happy.
Yeah, rather than shelling out a load of money on a guy who can't really wrestle anymore, like Hulk Hogan, because he's not really going to be able to help your company, really. No. And I think that's kind of where they've run into financial difficulties. They're paying more money for guys who have been fired by the WWE rather than just signing up talented indie wrestlers. Like, I mean, they should be thinking, right, well, we could sign up ACH and just not sign in for that amount of money, but we know that ACH can put on a good show, and plus they become associated with, and it's like, look at the exciting talent we're finding, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, that just seems to me to be a better plan, considering their success stories with guys like AJ, Samoa Joe, and the list we just mentioned.
Well, that's the other route they could go is employ guys that have come down from WWE, but appoint them to a short term, like a 1 year or 2 year contract or something. So then they get to save money. They get to use this person for, obviously, to boost the product. And then once the end of the 2 years up, if they're happy with it, then, you know, renegotiate a new contract. If not, and the other guy's happy with it and say, oh, well, I only want it to work here for a year, or I understand the terms of contract, and then they move on and go somewhere else.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. They didn't do any of that. They just kept on signing what I imagine are quite expensive talent that haven't drawn in the crowds because they're lower mid card at best at the WWE, and now they've basically pulled that company down by commanding higher salaries whilst not actually drawing any extra fans or eyes to the product. So they're basically just wasting money and not gaining anything in return. And now they're in this situation, which basically reeks of ECW in its dying days.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I don't think it'll be too long unless they can get a couple of new investors, or they dramatically rechange the brand and can get a bigger network deal. I think in 12 months we could be saying that ROH has overtaken TNA.
Yeah, that seems to be the case because, I mean, credit to ROH. I mean, they had some, what was it? They had a bit of trouble around the time that Kevin Steen was there. I think in around 2008, they had a bit of issue with a couple of their investors pulling out, but they got new ones. And in generally speaking, ROH is quite a stable company. You don't hear that many stories about ROH having worrying signs, financial troubles. A lot of the guys who go there say they're making steady earnings and, you know, getting paid on time. That company seems to be quite stable. I'm thinking as well, another worrying sign for TNA is now that they've gone to Destination I can't speak tonight. Destination America, they've got an issue where Destination America is saying, we want you to record in the USA. We want Taryn Terrell to be the Knockouts champion. She's good because she's good looking. And we want this guy to be the world champ. And apparently Destination America is sticking their noses in, trying to say, this is what we want you to do. Which, let us not forget what happened to WCW when it died.
And you don't forget what happened to ECW when it got taken on by TNN and then got destroyed in about 8 months.
Yeah, I have a funny feeling it's not going to be a case of in 12 months RH is going to be bigger than TNA. I think RH is going to be bigger than TNA because TNA isn't around anymore. Full stop.
Like I said, unless they do something drastic and actually start paying their talent and find some more money to give to the talent, they're not really going to be going in an upwards direction, at least not for a while. And unfortunately, if you're not going to pay your talent, well, they're going to go somewhere where they will get paid. They might get paid less, but as long as they get paid consistently, I think that's all they care about.
Yeah,
they've got families to feed and everything as well. So if you're not paying your guys, if somebody's worth 30 grand for a pay-per-view match and you're either not going to pay him or say, oh, here you go, here's 5 grand, they're going to say, well, fuck this, I'm going to go somewhere where I actually get paid on time.
Yeah, well, think about it this way. Easiest way to put it, it's better to be earning £1,000 or dollars consistently rather than being told you're going to be earning 3,000 but then not getting paid it at all.
Yeah.
Because at least you've still got your $1,000. At least you've still got your $1,000, and that's what happened to AJ, and I can see it happening to everybody else. Like Samoa Joe's, obviously he left for similar reasons, I think. Hamada, he left. He's leaving now. TNA is looking like a sinking ship. TNA resembles the Titanic in a big way right now.
Yeah, it's not doing great. They're going to have to pull quite a few rabbits out of their asses, I think. So, Dixie, you better bend over soon, sweetheart.
Yeah, it's. I think what's quite funny now is I think as well when Jeff Jarrett started the company, it was his first time starting a company and owning it. And I have a funny feeling he's learned from TNA. I have a feeling he's going to apply apply the lessons that he learned for Global Force, because obviously Global Force Wrestling is starting up soon. I think they're going to have a TV deal as well. So it may not be long before Global Force Wrestling actually becomes a bigger promotion. I know for a fact they have a full-on lighting rig, which is something which actually ROH doesn't have, for instance. So signs are promising for that company, maybe.
Might be one to keep an eye on.
Might be. Either way, I still think it's going to be ages before anybody even gets close to ever getting close to WWE's level ever again. And I think WWE knows that as well, basically.
Yeah, they're basically trying to push their luck slightly.
Yeah, the WWE is basically just cruising because it knows it's untouchable at the moment. The problem that WWE have, as far as I'm concerned, I think just wrestling in general. Actually, I think it needs another battle in America for supremacy to kick the company up the arse, because whilst the WWE is being lackluster and there's no companies really pushing it, I think wrestling in general is slowly dying.
How's it going? That's just my phone.
Yeah, I was going to say, that sounded like the start of the Ascension's theme song.
It was, yeah. I've just downloaded some more songs to my phone. I was just testing to see if they worked.
Oh, I see. I was going to say, I was like, that was the start of the Ascension's theme song.
Yeah, I've downloaded some new tracks for the gym in the morning.
I must admit, that was quite funny when the Ascension came out. He's like Connor's just walking around the front of the ring, and I'd just go, God, he's big. And you're like, he is huge. just my reaction to Connor was immense.
That's why you guys should go and see Raw, because then you get a chance to see what the guys look like in what they look like in real life, size-wise.
Yeah, it's interesting. Definitely interesting to see it. But yeah, TNA company that seems to be on the rocks. Their challenge, they went all out to try and beat WWE, and now they're finding out that they tried too much too soon. By the looks of it.
Yeah, I'd say the next 6 months could be make or break, because if they might get away with it once or twice, not paying the guys and saying, "Oh, you'll get it." There's only so long they're going to put up with it.
Yeah. That's the thing. They can't really afford to lose too much of their main event talent. They can't really afford to lose guys like Kurt Angle, Matt Hardy, and Jeff Hardy to pay issues. They just can't. Because once those guys are gone, if those guys go, a lot of the drawing power for TNA is lost. because they just haven't positioned other guys there to sort of fill that void if it happens.
Yeah, well, I mean, you figure if, let's say, MVP, Lashley, Eric Young, Kurt Angle, Matt and Jeff Hardy all said, well, I don't want to work anymore because I'm not getting paid. Who do they have left? Drew Galloway. That's about all they've got at the minute.
Yeah. I mean, Drew Galloway is quite hot in that company at the moment. But, again, it's like we've been saying with the WWE. You can't build your company with one guy. It doesn't work.
No, it takes two to tango. So if you've got a roster of 12 people, what are you going to do then?
Yeah, nothing. There's nothing you can do. Yeah, they need to sort themselves out. Otherwise, that company is going to be an X company. Let's put it that way.
Keep an eye on it in 6 months' time.
Yeah, it's one that I think is going to be consigned to the history books. That's for sure. We've got F1. Is my next topic that I've got written down here.
Well, if you do F1, I'm going to test all these songs work on my phone.
Yeah, okay. I'll take the reins for this one because I'm trying to refresh my stream, see if there's any comments down on it, which there aren't, or at least none that's popping up either way. Because I just want to see if there's anything. No. So Formula One happened. It's Bahrain Grand Prix, first night race. In fairness, not a huge amount that's interesting to really report on. Hamilton, once again, has ultimate pace in qualifying. Just seems to have an answer for everything at the moment. And once again, he got ahead, controlled the race quite comfortably, didn't look even remotely under threat at any point, least of all from Nico Rosberg. I don't think the threat for Hamilton is going to be internal. It's Nico Rosberg seems to be pretty dead and buried unless there's something major happens coming up soon to relaunch, to rejuvenate Nico Rosberg, because that guy looks like a guy who suffering from Mark Webber syndrome, basically just getting trumped by his teammate every time, and it's having its effect on him psychologically. So what other threats do we have from Mercedes? Well, Ferrari. They won in Malaysia. People were wondering, it's a high tire degradation circuit. Could they do the same here? Answer is no. Although Kimi Raikkonen did beat Nico Rosberg. However, there's a bit of a story to that. Towards the end of the race, apparently both Mercedes were suffering with brake issues, so Nico Rosberg couldn't really defend against Kimi Raikkonen. But at the moment, it looks like Ferrari are a good half a second off the pace of the Mercedes, which is, in truth, a lot closer than anybody else has been in recent weeks. Recent year, since 2014. But it's still not close enough for them to really be a massive, massive problem for Mercedes to deal with. Elsewhere in the field, Williams had another decent showing, but again, they haven't really been able to make any inroads to the front line. I was quite impressed with how Bottas held off Sebastian Vettel. I thought that was interesting. Good result for Williams all round, I've got to say. They don't appear to have a car that's as strong as the Ferrari or the Mercedes. Red Bull, they had a good outing, considering they do seem to be suffering from problems. Red Bull are touting this sort of PR line that our problem is with the Renault engine. Yeah, and I don't believe that. I don't believe that's the whole truth. I believe that's a part of the truth. I do believe that the Renault engine is not as good as the Ferrari or the Mercedes power unit, but I do believe there are some major problems with that chassis. It just is not giving the drivers the confidence that the old car used to be. And I think that's simply the effect of Adrian Newey leaving that team to pursue new, pastures new in different disciplines. Now that Adrian Newey's gone, they're starting to feel the effects of that. They've also lost key personnel to other teams, and it's hurting Red Bull at the moment. Who else was there that had a good race? Felipe Nasser for Sauber, once again. Pretty impressive display. None of the Toro Rosso rookies managed to do anything that impressive this week. What didn't help was their cars unreliable. Both cars, I think, broke down in the end. So not a good result for Toro Rosso. That said, at least they started the race, which is more than could be said for Jenson Button, whose car broke down before the race even began. So he didn't even start. He's over the whole weekend in Bahrain, he's only done 17 laps. That's all he can do. Didn't even do a qualifying lap and didn't get a race lap under his belt either. All of his laps were just practice. Alonso, though, dragged the McLaren further up the field than we have been seeing. Anybody else that's interesting? Pastor Maldonado had a decent result despite crashing into people again. That seems to be like a running joke. Oh, it's a Lotus in trouble. Who is it? Oh, wait, it's Maldonado. Again. It's always Maldonado. Never seems to be Romain Grosjean, and I think there's a reason for that. Other than that, the Manor Mauritius, they were also there. That's all you can say about Manor. They're there, which, considering the problems they had at the end of last season, is an achievement in itself. And that's basically it. That's Bahrain in a nutshell. I would say, though, that the Bahrain Grand Prix has also got this, this habit of throwing up good races. Normally when they go to Bahrain, the racing is quite close, and you tend to see some pretty good overtaking maneuvers being pulled off. And again, this race was no exception. Nico Rosberg showed that he showed some racecraft, which has been lacking, which I think he didn't seem to be so willing to go wheel to wheel with other drivers in 2014, perhaps worried about making a mistake. In this race, he showed that he can actually race wheel to wheel with other guys. So if he continues to actually demonstrate that, then he might later on in the season actually be able to have a go at Lewis Hamilton. But it needs a bit more pace to his game. But yeah, once again, the action in Bahrain managing to throw up another good race. That said, despite the fact there wasn't anything that interesting about the end result, the actual journey, the way we got to that end result, was definitely more fun. It's definitely more fun to watch it than it has been. And that's basically it. That's all I have to really say about the F1. Looking at the topics. So, yeah, like I say, that's that. Covered nice and succinctly. I would like to believe that Host Pro can always keep you remains informed about F1 in a short, concise, and entertaining manner.
I have no comment. I'm not up on F1, so this is entirely your section.
Yeah.
Although I've just thought, depending on what time we get done, there is one other topic I've suddenly thought of that I need to bring up and address with you, because you'll understand exactly where I'm coming from on this. But we'll keep on topic with yours for a minute. You might have already seen it, I don't know. But if not, I will actually, while we go on to the next topic.
We have definitely got enough time to do it, because we're only an hour into the show at the moment, and I've only got one more topic left, which is a Would You Rather. Like I said, it's not an obscene one. It's not anything to do with having sex with sisters or anything like that. Weird, like last week.
Yeah.
This week we have this question from the Reddit: would you rather never watch a new Star Wars movie or never watch a new Avengers movie? So basically, it's a choice. Would you rather watch the Avengers or Star Wars going forward?
Well, mine's kind of easy because I've never really been that up on Star Wars myself. Because I've been meaning to. It's a series of films it's on my to watch list. I really should have done it this week. But my answer would obviously be the Avengers, because I've seen the Avengers, and obviously I've got an interest in comic books and superheroes and blah blah blah. I'm not saying the Star Wars is bad. It's just I have never seen it to say that it's good. I imagine once I watch it, I'll be like, oh, Star Wars, it's brilliant. It's like the best series ever. And Nathan's got like loads of books and stuff, and everything else is just a case of educating myself. So for now, I would say my answer would have to be the Avengers. But for you, it's probably different because you've seen all the Star Wars.
You see, now that's the thing. See now, if see, I can go into a little bit more detail because yes, I have seen all the Star Wars movies, and yes, I do like Star Wars. I'm a bit of a Star Wars nerd, not to the extent that some people are, but I enjoy a lightsaber battle as much as anybody else. And the thing I find is this: the original trilogy was an absolute masterpiece in storytelling of its day. But the new trilogy, the last episodes 1, 2, and 3, maybe with the exception of 3, I think 3 was pretty good. But 2 and 1 weren't so great. They were kind of like a difficult second album syndrome, so to speak. They just weren't quite there. They were good, but there's just something lacking. And it's good storytelling. They went all out on action, I think, and in particularly in Star Wars Episode 1, there's a whole lot of talking, a lot of politics going on. It's like, yeah, I don't really want to watch politics in Star Wars. It's like, I can see it has its place. It's setting up the storyline, setting up the whole how the Empire happened, as opposed to where the beginnings of the Rebel Alliance come from. But at the same time, it wasn't riveting viewing. And based on that, and I'm trying to think. So the current track record, well, the track record for Star Wars in its last 3 attempts, not so great. Definitely not up to the first trilogy. But Avengers and Marvel, boy, are they on a hot streak right now. They are hitting their marks, and they're doing brilliant movies. And this is why I would rather watch. I'd rather continue watching Avengers than Star Wars. I think Star Wars, the old movies, form a nice, concise 6-part story, which is good. When viewed back to front, it's a good story. It's nice, tightly, put a bow on it. Brilliant. The Avengers is a storyline which has got a lot more interest going forward, I think. And I'm going to say the Avengers. It's because
well, I mean, Star Wars, like I said, it was good and everything, but yeah, like you said, it was just kind of towards the sort of the last few films as well. It was kind of petering off a little bit, and everyone's kind of like, they weren't disappointed, but they weren't overly jumping jacks about it. Let's put it that way. Whereas the Avengers delivered on the first one, and it's probably going to deliver very well on the second one.
Yeah, see, I'm wondering how well it is going to deliver, actually. I'm wondering how it's going to compare to Fast 7, actually, in terms of how much it grosses. Because I know for a fact that Fast 7 has now become the highest grossing movie opening day of all time. Shattered records, apparently.
The first Avengers did that, though, as well.
Yeah. Well, here's the funny thing as well, right? I saw a story on an MMA and wrestling news site that said Rock and Ronda smash records. And it's like, yeah, but it wasn't really the Rock and Ronda Rousey that smashed records. That's not the reason that Fast and Furious 7 has massive commercial interest. Part of it is because of Paul Walker's recent death. I think personally, I think Paul Walker dying before that film's been released has really drawn some interest to that movie, considering it's his final piece of work before he died.
Yeah, it's generally whenever a film has a lead actor who suffers a horrific tragedy and ends up dying, from a promotion standpoint, it's going to draw a lot of eyes to your film. But apparently the film wasn't... it sent off Paul Walker in quite a nice way. It wasn't derogatory, or they weren't just like, oh, we're just using Paul Walker to try and get more views. They actually did it in a very respectful way, which is why I think it broke records, for the fact that obviously it's Paul Walker's last film, but in the fact that the way they did it in such a good way is to pay homage or privilege to Paul Walker.
Yeah, so, him and his character in particular, yeah.
So that has helped as well, because obviously the more people that see it, who went to see it, think, oh, Paul, they're just doing it to jump on the Paul Walker hype. When they saw it, they were like, oh, actually, this is a really good film.
Well, I mean, I think they were going to release the film anyway. Obviously, I mean, it's already been shot and canned, but I don't think they'd finished filming all the scenes with Paul Walker's character when he died. I think they had to rejig things at the end to write him out. And I mean, I haven't seen the film yet. I'm going to put my hands up. I haven't seen the film yet. I want to. Probably will do some point soon. But I think the send-off for his character must be pretty emotional, because it hasn't taken very long for the song, which I imagine, I don't know for sure, but I think the song that plays in his scene, that where he disappears into the sunset or whatever, that song has instantly jumped to #1 of the Billboard charts. It's prevented Uptown Funk from breaking all records. And I think the song itself, I'm going to say it's not as good as Uptown Funk, but I completely understand why it went straight to #1 the way it did, because I can imagine if you hear that song playing on a scene where Paul Walker is written out of Fast 7, I can imagine it being an incredibly emotional scene, and you're just going, I want that song now.
Yeah, I think the connection of the song is probably outweighs the actual song itself. I mean, I haven't heard the song myself, but generally it's like if you go back to Celine Dion and Titanic, they don't remember Titanic for the film, they remember it for Celine Dion.
Well, I'm gonna link you the song so you can hear it, and you'll understand exactly why I say it must play during his farewell scene, and then you'll understand like the emotional connections for it. And why it's probably jumped straight to #1. Soundtrack. Where is it? See You Again. Is that the one? Is that it? Yeah, that's it. That's the song. It's insanely sad. I hope you're not feeling suicidal, because this will probably tip you over the edge, if I'm honest.
Me? When would I ever feel suicidal?
Yeah, I don't know. People do things. No, that's the song. You'll see why I assume it plays on a farewell scene. A small word though on Uptown Funk. I did do some research about like the songs which have been on #1 the longest. Uptown Funk was 2 weeks away from tying the all-time longest record. It actually tied a load of songs for second longest stint at #1. So it was stupidly close to breaking records. It's in the top 8 for songs that have been highest on #1.
Yeah, no, it was pretty impressive, that song, how it took the world by storm, basically.
You never know; it might still come back up and gain some more weeks once the hype about this movie dies down. I think Uptown Funk, assuming nothing else comes along, might well be able to bounce itself back up there.
Yeah, I'm just checking out the song now. Still trying to find that story that I want to link you to, but I can't find. Well, you'll see why. I'll explain more about the story in a minute. It's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, we've definitely got time for you. Definitely got time for it. It's only 9:15, so we got plenty of time.
I see what you mean. It is quite a sad song.
Yeah, and you can easily see why I make the connection. That must be on a farewell scene, can't you?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can see why that would be a good farewell song.
Yeah, and you can see why that song playing on a farewell scene would instantly have people searching for it, considering Paul Walker's death as well. So I think with all those things drawn together, there's no wonder it's #1 now.
Yeah, I think it also helps that the film has been as successful as it has been, because obviously that will help push the song a bit further up.
Yeah, I think that film as well. In general, what helps is apparently that film is absolutely brilliant.
It is supposed to be a shit hot film. It's supposed to be really good.
Yeah, I still haven't seen it. I really must do though.
Yeah, it's one that I do need to watch as well.
Oh hell, I've got Saturday free.
That's an idea. I'm just looking for the stories. You know, this. I'm wondering if you'll look at this exactly the same way I did when I saw it.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard about it. Basically, a shopper took to Twitter to complain that he found a live mouse in his loaf of bread. Hang on. Oh, God. Shut up. Oh, there we go. No, that's my computer. The thing is, every site I look on for the source material now, it's got ads playing over it, so it comes in my headphones really fucking loud. But yeah, basically, a man was shopping at Aldi, and he took a video. Apparently, he found a live mouse and a loaf of bread at the Aldi.
Actually, in store.
Yeah, inside a sealed packet, inside a loaf of bread, inside an Aldi store in Milton Keynes. However, I want you to watch the video because I'm going to wonder if you picked up the same things that I did. Hang on.
I probably will once I know what I'm looking for.
Link now. Same way I do. You'll be looking at it and thinking, what? And I mean, it also amaze you as well how people could quite be as stupid as what they are. Hang on. Here we go. Right. I will copy the link. You might have to search for the video on a separate site though, because I think the video has been taken down, and you'll probably see why it's been taken down when you start pointing out the flaws in the video, if you can find them, which I'm sure you will. So keep in mind, this is a guy that has bought a loaf of bread from an Aldi in Milton Keynes that has a live mouse sealed inside it. So when you watch the video and read all the connotations and everything that goes with it, I think you might think probably along the same sort of lines as me. Have you got the link up there?
Yeah, I'm looking at the actual story.
Yeah, you need to read the story
I'm seeing a couple of comments.
Yeah, play the video through. If it will work.
Family shocked because mouse is found it. Okay, okay, right here. I've got the video.
So keep in mind, like I said, Aldi loaf of bread that had a live mouse in it. Fucking adverts. Seriously? I'm trying to watch it now. I keep trying to skip through. That's why I keep going back and forth between the windows, because although your computer is better than mine, so it might be better. Actually, I think that's the best video for it as well, the one that's on the Mail website. Is the video actually working on your player? Because it's not working on mine.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, yeah, so, well, watch it all the way to the end and then tell me what your initial reactions are. I'll be interested to hear these.
Right. Yeah. Okay, that does not seem very sincere at all. The first thing I picked up right there is, why did you let it go? That was not sincere. Plus, the story says it was found inside the packet of bread, right? And the mouse isn't actually inside the bread; it's inside the bag. And plus, it's disappeared up into their cupboard. It doesn't even go in their cupboard. It goes quite clearly into a hole in the wall. That's a mouse from their fucking house.
You are along the right lines. Anything else that struck you?
Well, the other thing that struck me is it doesn't even look real to me.
Well, no, I'm more interested. You haven't picked out the most obvious one, is what amazes me. Go back and rewatch the video and listen to me when I say to you, he bought the bread from an Aldi. And
well, yeah, that's... Okay, yeah, I was about to mention that. He also says Tesco.
Yeah, he actually says himself in the video, Tesco's are going to get it, and yet he complains to Aldi. Now, the thing is with this, right, is I actually wrote a comment on the official Aldi website because I was like, because you notice Aldi is saying, oh, well, we're going to jump and we're going to, pay you compensation and we're really sorry, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, just hang on a minute. I said, think about this. Number one, he said, if you want to start from the basics, the way I listed it was, number one, it was supposed to be from Aldi. And that loaf of bread to me looks like a kind of like a King's Mill or a Warburton's or something. Is it Warburton's bread?
Yeah, that was it.
My first question is, do Aldi even sell Warburton's bread? That's my first question. I don't think they do. You will know why, the connections I'm making here. Yeah, so essentially, do they even sell that, number one? Number two, he said it himself. It's from Tesco. There are a lot of empty Tesco bags around. So what happened? Did they do all their main shopping at Tesco, then decide to pop in Aldi to get bread? Or, you know, because it was resting inside a Tesco bag.
There's a whole lot of this which just isn't adding up. Plus, I'm going to also say that mouse doesn't even look real. Well, and it wasn't even inside the loaf of bread. So he's saying, we found it inside the bread, inside a sealed packet. Well, the fucking thing isn't inside your sealed packet.
This is my third point. The third point was, if it's inside the sealed packet, you can see from the photos, in one of them, the mouse is kind of burying into the bread, isn't it?
Yeah, inside the picture, yeah.
And on the second picture, it's not eating the bread. Now, fair enough, he could have taken the second picture before the first one, before it started burying. But if you actually watch the video and pause on the bit when it jumps out of, escapes from its prison, the bread itself was not nibbled in any way. There are no holes inside the bag to suggest the mouse actually tried to escape from the bag. And surely if they'd opened the bag to let the mouse out of the bag so it could run around inside the bigger bag, did they open it and then reseal it? Or, there's too much weird stuff going on. And the other thing that really gets to me is, you figure you and me will probably know a little bit more about an Aldi than the average person because of obviously, you know why.
I know why. I know why you say that.
Do you not think Aldi in some way, shape or form in their factory where they manufacture the bread, where they've got live ingredients or they arrange for transport or something, you're telling me they don't have one pest control, there's no pest control in that building, it's not strict quality checks? And you were telling me when the bread was put out that morning and rotated and checked on delivery by the staff there, not one person noticed the mouse? Nobody else picked up that loaf with the mouse in it?
Well, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Is like how can the Aldi staff miss that? It's
exactly
not.
And you're telling me not.
But so one thing I would like to tell you about this video as well.
And if there's a mouse live in the packet, they would notice that there's a fucking live mouse in there. So there's no other customer.
Yeah, and how the hell did the customer pick that up and buy it, not knowing it's there?
That's complete bullshit. And he didn't notice when he picked up the packet and put it through the shopping with the rest of the shopping? Bullshit.
Yeah. Do you want to know something else, though, that's interesting about this video? The title of it, Family Shocked as Mouse is Found in Their Shopping. Related. It's a related video. It's not a video of the actual mouse.
The thing is, if you ask me if Aldi are going to pay this guy compensation, then they're fucking stupider than their clientele. Because that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's apparently this video isn't actually of the Aldi mouse. Apparently it's just sent. Apparently they've just put a related video up there, which isn't actually of the thing.
Right. So that video isn't related to this at all.
So, well, no, it's the video is related because it is a mouse that was in a shopping bag, but it's not the actual same incident. Apparently, that's the problem with the Daily Mail is they fucking do that shit. That's why when I was doing journalism training at at university, the Daily Mail is just a punchline. It's just a joke among people who do journalism because they do shit like that and aren't clear. This is not the incident, but a related incident. They put it as a separate thing, but everything else is very true. I mean, you look at that picture of this one from Aldi, and it's. I mean, yeah, how can you pick that up and not notice it? It's pretty... That must be difficult to not notice a wriggling mouse inside the bread and not just go to the staff right there and then, hey, look at this. And it's also probably ridiculous to think that the staff there can pick that up with a wriggling mouse inside it and not notice that. I mean, if it was just one moldy strawberry in a 500-gram pack of strawberries... So yeah, if you're in a hurry, that can slip through the net every once in a while. But a live mouse in a packet of bread, no.
unless that mouse was very well behaved and was asleep the entire time he picked up the bread, which I find highly doubtful, because as soon as you go anywhere near a mouse, they're going to jump, scurry, and run and try and get their way out. So you're telling me that mouse didn't try and get its way out of the packet or anything? I don't think so.
Yeah, there is a certain element here of just idiocy going on.
What's more idiotic is if Audi pays out for this, if you ask me. If they're stupid enough to believe that, then, well, you have to wonder what kind of apes they've got in charge over there.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, stuff like that is, I don't know, it just doesn't, something about that isn't right. Yeah. That is pretty bad. Yeah, as for the other video though, Tesco's is going to get, I think that's actually a different one, because if you look at the packet of bread in that video, it's a different packet of bread to the packet of bread that's pictured as well. So I don't think that video is related to it or is of the same incident. But as well, that video seems pretty faked as well, if you ask me. God, that's yeah. I don't think Aldi would be right to pay out for that, because it's like, seriously, you didn't notice. It's like we say, people can be really, really stupid at times. I have a funny feeling Marcus is no longer with us at the moment. Uh-oh, he's stalled. Okay. This is very weird. And we've lost Marcus for a moment. Oh, that's interesting. Ow, I just nudged a chair with my desk with my knee. That kind of hurt. No, well, it didn't hurt. Anyway, yeah. That reeks of just people being stupid and blind. Or at least trying it on just to get something for free, because that can happen. Yeah. The thing is, whenever people say something, I always take everything with a pinch of salt now. Just no matter what, anybody, no matter who it is, or what the subject is about, I always take anything that people ever say now with a pinch of salt, just because I've seen too many instances in real life of people just being dumb and stupid. It's hard to explain. You have to see it for yourself. Just walking around and going about your daily business, you probably won't notice it because you don't have really enough time to notice it. You have to sort of be in one place for a while, and then you'll quickly, or have any. I think anybody who deals with the public will know exactly what I'm talking about, and what Marcus is talking about. If you deal with the public, you will get it completely. Yeah, Marcus is definitely disconnected. I'll see if I can re-invite him into the chat for the end of the show. But it's, he might be having internet issues. I'll post him an invitation to try and refresh that. Sometimes his computer's getting a bit old, let's put it that way. And he can have issues at times with his internet until we get Marcus back. I'm going to go back into comment tracker, which still isn't showing me anything interesting. Yeah, I'm with Marcus on that one. There's something doesn't add up about that. Yeah, there's just something about the story that just doesn't add up. There's no real way of putting it. And but I'm pretty sure Audi is going to pay up as well, just to like say, oh look, we do care about people. They probably will, just to avoid any negative publicity. Well, to damage imitation publicity, I should say, is probably what they're going to go for on that. But They probably shouldn't do it. Well, that's Marcus on the Facebook. And his PC is completely frozen dead. Yeah, I'd agree with Marcus on that one. Yeah. I'll tell you, look at this little joke. Yeah. When it comes to people these days, yeah, people do weird things. Anybody who's dealt with the public will know this. People just do weird things. I can tell you just from journalism training, you come across weird stories all the time. It's just how it is. Yeah. I wonder if I can give Marcus my old laptop for a bit. Might have to think about that. Yeah, no, it's yeah. Losing my trail of thought here. I think I've said everything I want to say about that story, as it is. Yeah, that is the end of this host show. I hope you enjoyed the show. Before I do go, I want to say I'm still intrigued to try and get a Q&A section of the show going where I just field questions from you guys, the audience, about anything that you want, and we'll answer it and tackle it on the show. Because it's just a great untapped resource at the moment on my channel. It's brilliant to have that audience interaction going, which is something I kind of really want to get going. It's just some audience interaction, so there's more direct connection between us, and we can have like a back and forth going on here, which would be pretty cool. I think certainly brings some life to the show in a way which it doesn't have, in a way that it doesn't have at the moment. Another thing is I'm trying to work on getting some like extra guests on as well. And just as you know where I'm coming from with this, I'm aiming really high. The people I'm reaching out to, really, really high, and if I actually land a guest, it will just instantly make the show popular overnight. Because I'm talking about guys minimum caliber AJ Styles, which I'm pretty sure I'll never ever have somebody like AJ Styles or bigger on the show, like probably ever. But that's what I'm going for, and if I can get it done, my God, you're going to want to be around for that show. But for now, like I say, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the show. I am the Chun, and you are not.